thought I'd talk a little bit about Total Recall, thinking about this film that I'm proposing that we make, me and Eve, as our first project together as a movie star couple. Me playing Douglas Quaid and her playing his girlfriend, whom I forgot her name in this story. But the girl that he ends up with in the end. So that'd be me and Eve. So what I'm working on is that he has this cartridge situation where he's been... Now this is where I'm going to play a part of kind of a fragmented mental surrealist movie type maker, where the goal is that so, okay, it's going to tie all together. I just want to say that, just to make sure that we don't get off too far in the description. So, playing a gentle game of he seems to be waking up over and over is kind of one of my tricks that I use commonly in my stories, is that you have a scene and then the person wakes up and then they're like, oh, it's such a weird dream, and then they end up being still in some sort of other world where then they realize something is terribly wrong, and then they just kind of move on from there. And then they wake up again, typically. And this has to do with the concept of either being like, I'll use it for like if you're in a spell or being in a mental trap or something like a Jedi trap or just a mental trap, psychological mutant trap or whatever. In this instance, it is this cartridge. And the idea that I'm getting at is, well, we've got this Total Recall cartridge, and we have Cohagen. So the guy did the cartridge, and what I was going to say was that he actually only did it one time, but for some reason when he thinks about it, he remembers having done it many times before he did it, but he had no proof that he had ever done it. And I'll have to think about that, but there's some discrepancy about people sharing the software and whatnot, or the cartridge. So I'm thinking this: you have an opportunity to give Cohagen Total Recall, and maybe he thinks Total Recall is what gave Quaid the power, but in fact, Total Recall just unlocked the mental ability to perceive the entire spy operation thing. So yeah, just to kind of say there, the basics of the movie I'm actually saying are going to be the same. And I know I get very elaborate, and it's almost like this is like a totally different movie. This is the same movie. Well, it is, and it would be just in my style. And it would definitely be the same movie, and you would be able to say like, yeah, and then he went here, and then like literally, look, if you look, he goes like this, and then like he, in the other original movie, he actually does that same thing. But I wouldn't want it to be just like a total. It could be a copy. I wouldn't care if it was a copy. But to me, the opportunity to do something like, I like the idea of having the narrator and doing it just like reading that stuff. This is what was going on. This was, that. And especially with the elaborate, like, walking around the dead of night, zombies, today have existed since they erased their memory and all this stuff. Like that kind of gritty old style, almost like the detective-y kind of noir, I guess. To me, that's what it is. And then, like I was saying, with the imagery, I tried to pick that type of fancy-looking thing, and we could utilize just like, put a fine touch on it, the same story, but not too eloquent that we lose the appeal. It could definitely have like straight up 80s club mutant people dancing and stuff, and just just like, it could just be really, it doesn't matter to me, you know what I mean? Like, it's just an opportunity to do fun, and so if you have an opportunity, you just might as well do it in that way. And it could be also more artsy or whatever as well, but it's just like a sci-fi movie. It's got that kind of like central man character, like investigating himself type of feeling, like what's going on with my life. Did I do wrong? And I'll just tell you exactly what happened and see what happens. So the idea is it would also be so they've been telling me for years to try to just say, like, I'm just going to go ahead and be like a Jackie Chan kind of guy. And so, I mean, I might as well just go, like, I'll just go for it. You know what I mean? We can try to keep me safe and everything. But, we'll just try to come up with stunts and whatnot. And I know that you could just say, as long as it's as good as Total Recall, and those stunts are pretty easily obtainable. You have to do them, whatever, to get them on camera, but we could just sit there and make it look right until it looks good, and then we're fine. So yeah, like just setting the visual look of the piece and the kind of, I like the more like a mature adult type cinema look, but I would be okay with, I don't know, well, I mean, I would prefer that. To me, it's like, you have an opportunity to make the piece look nowadays very good, and you have these mutant people, you've got this guy who mutates out of the chest and stomach area of the guy, so that could be really cool. I'm saying that this guy can actually bend matter or something, and like he lives inside the stone of the mountain that they're carving out. He opens it, like literally the stone just like opens up. It's a strange phenomenon, but I think it would be an interesting thing to promote that idea that he's like a mutant with special powers to change matter, because this guy as well has this power where he can go into different dimensions and also therefore change shape of matter for like anything potentially. And he's going into this almost metaphysical, near like psychotic kind of situation, because he's been playing with this illegal software memory installs, and that's just kind of what I got going on for the basic thing. We can make his life, you know. I'll try to keep it paced evenly and nice, but I know I'll just do a good job of whatever it is I end up doing. I want the collaboration with Eve to make sure that we do it right, like according to her. If she's actually as beautiful as the pictures of her that I've made and kept or whatever through it, I definitely would want to present her in a way that really just flattered and just, you know, put her in the spotlight as like centerfold kind of material, with the movie just being the dressing her in a very beautiful, like, I like this total realistic camera look. It's just like you see every little pore. Also, it's going to be neato with the sci-fi. So as far as like shoot 'em up, I was thinking like, let's just go with a PG shoot 'em up. We'll just say that the guns are like stun guns or something like that. Rather than being like we should kill people. We have the choice, you know, we just make it up. So maybe we would kill, like, if we did, maybe one person. If they kill Cohagen, he gets blown out into the end. He gets blown out in the end into the Mars world. And I think he died a little bit like that. Yeah, so, I mean, as far as literally copying just verbatim, I like the idea of it just being this other style, and it's just the same events that happen, like the turban thing, putting the towel on his head, and, you know, and just like literally, you can, because I already added that dimensionality, in my opinion, in my filmmaking sensibility, because I added that cartridge thing, it's like you can just kind of be very narrative, just be like, this is, you know, the new place that you're at the corner of whatever, and you can see this time period and what it looks like with the cars zooming by, you know, like futuristic, and they can be floating cars, or I mean, I'm cool with the idea of it being like right on the border of the Cause look, with like this sci-fi, very almost like regular world, which is gas station stuff. So, I mean, because the year that I was saying was 2273 or something like that. To me, that is enough time to estimate that we might have basically the same thing, but it's just kind of a new age version of it, but also just like that regularness that I was able to obtain in the balance. And then pushing for just American, or not even, you know what I was thinking actually? I was like, I actually kind of like this Star Wars look. This like kimono look for the clothes. It could be like that with, you know, or suit jackets. I tried the suit jacket look. I think it just works. If you just put normal clothes on in this time period like this, design the world of the future look. Simple. Basically the same thing like here, but like the idea of it being like, this is a precursor to the real world of Star Wars, of our Earth, and just indicating, like, yeah, like with the All Points Plumbing guy and this car's normalness of the trees, street lights and stuff. So, also thinking a little bit about the getting to Mars idea, that in the Total Recall original that I love really, I mean, used to, and I guess I still do. There is kind of they just skip over the going to Mars. You know, they're like, well, you're gonna go to Mars, and then he goes to Mars, and then he's there in Mars. Well, to me, that is a special, super cool location that you could put more Star Wars like work on, representing the Star Wars large spaceship interior look, like somewhere in between the Death Star and the Millennium Falcon, where, for example, like if you get on a ferry, for example, it's like this big boat. It's kind of small, but it's big, where you can get a whole bunch of cars on it. I would say they would be on some sort of transport ship like that is intended to transport people to well, I guess the question is, would they be taking their ships? And I guess I kind of like that idea. It makes sense to me. And so they take this thing to Mars, and I like the idea of there being a scene or some sort of special, my little special gift to the movie, to the story, of something sentimental or something interesting that could happen. That could happen in the ride over to Mars. So I guess I'm playing Douglas Quaid, actually. I guess I kind of forgot that for a moment because I was thinking about their version so much. Well, I definitely want to get Eve in on it and tell me like what she thinks I should wear and stuff like that. I can come up with my own version of it, but I just kind of want to collab a little bit to see what she is feeling. But I mean, I can make it up all on my own. I said it's fun to talk about, like, well, do you like this dress? Do you like this dress? And you know, just to see her move in the dress and to talk to her, and then I can form better opinions and stuff. But yeah, basically, I think y'all got the look of what I'm going for. The kind of like classy, high quality looking cinematography look, almost like glam, with sometimes it's like a big focal blur thing. It's like very sharp, very HD, just like very high quality looking. I'll try to find, because it doesn't have the same for every camera. It's like you have to find somebody who feels that way. And I have this one video I found many years ago of a girl smoking out of a pipe, like a big expensive pipe. And it's like super HD. I think it was like Lumix G7 or maybe the GH8 or something like that. And it's like this super, if you see the kind of quality, it's this really like very high quality looking to me, it reminds me of like an ad for some sort of like a magazine ad for perfume or like a watch or something like that, but it's like a girl just smoking out of this pipe. And if I can find that, you'll get the general gist of what I think the whole movie should look like. So there's that. Plus, then it's like a action, and that kind of is a cool look to me, I think, when it's like the super mature thing. But if you're shooting a gun too, it's like, and not just like reckless, but like very exacting, you know. It's like, and then they're like move, and then moving, you know. And it's like these guys that are hunting them are very exact, very specific, and they might be coming out of from places that they shouldn't be able to come out of. There might be mutants who appear. That would be an interesting thing. Like Douglas Quaid sees a mutant like lying on the ground who doesn't have legs. Maybe it's just like one big leg. It's like a blob, and they're obviously deformed, but they're like leaning up, and they're like reaching out with like pale, like fatty skin and stuff, and the hairlessness and whatnot. And he sees the mutant, and he's like thinking about how the mutant needs help, but then it's like almost like a spiritual vision in the middle of a war kind of battle thing going on in the colony. And also, you know, just following the same thing, but yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about how continuous and contiguous the whole thing. I think it'd be easy to just have him continue to wake up, but it actually progresses each time he wakes up to the next part of the story. And it would be really easy if it just felt like you were getting too surreal or whatever, just to snap right back into the story and just go like, okay, well then he runs from point A to point B. Bam, bam, shoot, kick guy in face or whatever, break windshield, you know, and like, you know, just all this like typical easy stuff. You know, that's the easy stuff. Trying to make it look cool, you know, I think we can do a pretty good job. They got like stuff, and, you know, it's all in the. We'll work on it getting better and better. You know what I mean? It's not like once we make this, we have to not ever make it again. I think that we can claim, you know, like just like a jazz musician, if you play the song, you get famous for it. You can play it, even if you didn't write it, you still play it your whole life, pretty much. And I would say like that's how I want to choose my movie career. Like I wanted to do Robin Hood and perhaps Abraham Lincoln, Aladdin, to a lesser extent, but as an interesting idea I had at one point that I was proposing to Lucasfilm was to do Peter Pan, for example, in a Star Wars theme, in the Star Wars universe, and just get used to doing stories in the style of Star Wars, in the dressing and set and whatnot, and also the music and like the narrator, and, you know, and stuff like that, and like develop like a storybook kind of thing that we do. Well, this particular movie, I think I'm very excited about it. I like the idea of it having dance hall arcades and moments where we're going through places, you know. I'm trying to imagine what the colony is going to look like, and I don't want it to be too boring. I think that it could be a mountainous region that's carved out, and it has glass that encloses it. So some of it is stone, like lava stone, I was going to say, that has then this glass stuff like carved into it, sheets of glass that are like exactly placed inside of it and whatnot. So it has light and it has daytime, nighttime. I don't know what the deal with Mars is. It's, I think, bigger, so it has longer days. But it would be like almost like a little shopping mall kind of thing, where there would be various people walking around, and there would be different jobs and different personalities, all with residences in the colony. So last year, whatever, when I was thinking about doing this, I was saying that it would be more of a, like a, just really pushing the 80s theme, and just kind of like an 80s fantasy, how do I say this, like the style of the aesthetic is just very potent, saturated 80s. But I mean, I know the movie was made in 1990, but like really that time period, with the music and the hairstyles, but just kind of like polish it up in the style, like I'm saying, with this realistic, like real looking world, with the Lumix G7, for example, which has a very camera looking at the real world, does look clear, and it doesn't look like it's too cinematic, and like it doesn't overdo any of it. It has this very plain, real, is the function of the graphic simulation of the sensor and everything. It just looks very neutral, like it's just real, because it is, but meaning like it didn't change the extra lighting and making the world like that. So it's an action movie. It's got that modern action movie feel, where it's like ultra real military movements and close-ups, but it's like surveillance from like further away, so it's got that real drastic motion blur type look. But we would be going, and I guess there would be sentimental parts with like and we're like touching, and we're finally alone together, and or whatever, you know, like something like that with the music, and it's got that magic kind of synthesizer-y 1990s specifically. So it's like got that more retro type of sound. That for sure, and just that glamorous type of feeling, where the way I imagine is like that shimmery light behind the tube, and she's got like the makeup and the hairstyle with like the pointy stuff or whatever style we choose to do that's like this, where it's like, you know, like stylized looking, with that kind of very out of focus background, and the real clear like HD but farther away zoomed in. It's a real specific kind of look that looks very classy. Like, to me, it just looks like this super high quality cinematography kind of look that is usually reserved for like more glamorous looking products and stuff and people. And So just making it like that, it's got that sentimental, we're on something went wrong, we're now fighting for our lives. We don't know all the understanding, all the details of what is happening, or what's happening to him and what's happening to them, and I don't know if they'll be able to tell whether or not he has this power. I felt like at first when I was thinking about this idea many months or a year ago or whatever, that I was thinking it would be obvious that he was like transcending and like making, like for example in the seat, let's say they go over to the seat and like the seat is like transforming the memory implant seat, almost like a transformer or something, meaning like it's like growing and changing shapes, and it's like metallicized, and you know what I mean, and it's just like changing, and he's like looking, and he's like something's going on with him, and then maybe you get to see what he's seeing inside of his mind, and it's like racing all kinds of weird images. It seems to be going back to the same image over and over, and then it would be like, and then it would just be like, like white for a second. I have to think about what it all means and what's the point, but what I liked about the idea is that it would be like he just kind of like he starts forming the reality after that, from nothing, just like putting shelves together or something like that, and then he like literally like pulls the wall up and whatnot, and then he'll like sit there and put a chair or something, and it just gives you this feeling like, well, where did he come from? Where was he that he's now building this thing? And then when he ends up building it and then walking outside, is he outside? I mean, obviously no, right? Or maybe that was the end of the hallucination and now he's not hallucinating. Not as likely, but I mean, it's a maybe chance. And so I don't want to totally imply that it's just like all hallucinations or something like that. So I mean, I'll have to make sure that I don't. But the way I'm doing it is, I'll try to keep it more continuous. Like he's just going here and then back to back the scenes. Like it's the fight with her. And this and that. It's just that I kind of want to avoid having a lot of the fighting, and I like the idea of him having almost like a mutant uprisal whenever the bad guys are coming to him. Like he has this kind of reaction where he starts to bend reality or like change it in ways where like the doors he might go, and then like the door will be gone. They'll be like, the door's gone or something like that. Go around or something. And I'll have to see how specific they get into the details of what they can understand about the changing of reality. And then how much I want to like shoot. Because as far as I'm concerned, I would not shoot anybody in the movie. I would not have any blood or dead people. I might go a little bit deeper into the aliens. So there's another thing I wanted to talk about, and that is when they are showing him the program that he's going to be given, they say, oh, ancient artifacts or something like that. Yeah, didn't you know got this stuff on whatever, and they have these monsters that are like some sort of alien monsters or something. And what I was saying was that is your real estate money spot for your ability to create a unique product. For Total Recall to develop in a new way. Because that means that maybe, because they don't have anything like that, but they have this new atmosphere, and I had a story continuation, obviously now they have an atmosphere. But the thing is, they kind of left it like, maybe it's all fake. And I was kind of saying, well, regardless of whether or not it's fake, they're still there, so you still want to figure out what's going on. And the way I'm insinuating is that it is not that it's fake, it's that everything is like a malleable metaphysical construction that he thus has power to manipulate, because he hit the original reset button, tapped some sort of source energy or whatever. I don't, I mean, those are just weird descriptions to try to come up with something that's describing this. Basically, he used a program to reset his brain or something like that. What I'm calling Total Recall. Now, I know that's kind of like creative writing version. That's actually how I always do it. It's like, they'd be like, there's a movie called Total Recall. What is it? That's what I came up with, you know what I mean? But I like the idea of it being, and then it's the same movie, so you get to enjoy it. Maybe we can like do some dance, choreographed stuff, you know what I mean? Because if you already know the story, you can kind of relax and be like, oh, I know what he's doing. He's gonna like jump over there, and he's gonna go over there, and so you can kind of just have fun, and kind of go in that more. You don't have to go too dancey or anything, but meaning you have a little bit of leeway there where you can do a little bit of well, everything's action oriented is a choreographed type of thing. But anyway, I'm about to go to Taco Bell, so